pressure against Houston? Was that something that came out of the bye week, and what about that is maybe carryable over?
Yeah, sometimes that's just the particular week or the within the game. You know, you realize that some things are working pretty well. So, you know, I think we always try to be a little bit aggressive, and just felt like certain situations we could do it, and you know they would struggle a little bit with it, which you know they did. So, and you know everybody has their staple pressures that they use, and so we always try to. Okay, now we've done this, and you know what's the next step of this particular thing. So we, you know, try to add a little bit without adding too much, and you know, so that I guess that just kind of goes week to week.
I'm sure it feels like a while ago at this point, but Kobe gets 3 picks after a week where he was injured and managed to be able to play and do that well. Just what do you think of that and his performance in the game?
Well, yeah, it was nice, you know, like he's able to step up and really, you know, made some good plays on the ball, and you know, really for his part playing the coverage really well. So, you know, thankful that he's out there and that he could go, and you know, because that was, you know, kind of questionable a little bit. So, you know, and then he goes out there and makes some interceptions. So that's just the way it works, right? So, but obviously when he's out there, we're a lot better. So we need to get him out there as much as we can.
With JB, what has made him such a good blitzer for you guys?
Well, I think he's number one. He's powerful. He's dynamic. You know, he's just got a knack of, you know, he doesn't tiptoe. He goes, and then he can react to things that happen. So I think that's probably as much as anything is just he blitzes like you want a guy to blitz. Like when you think about it in your mind, that's what you want to see, and that's what he does. So obviously, you know, he can't be the only guy, but you know, we're certainly going to make sure that you know, we're not gonna finish a game and thinking, man, I wish we would have blitzed him a little bit more. So, but I think that's it. You know, he goes, and then he reacts really well.
Do you remember the moment when maybe you as a staff realized that was something that, you know, JB could excel at, and what was maybe that process like of figuring that out?
Well, probably the main part of that was, you know, a year ago, we were trying to find pass rushers, and so we kind of tried out our linebackers one day more as like defensive end edge pass rushers, and he was clearly the best at it. And so actually we don't really do that with him now as much, but we actually did that a little bit last year and with him. So I guess that's probably it. And then, you know, just the more you see of a guy, the more you know, kind of figure some of those things out. So but that's probably the start of it, is when it was defensive end tryouts.
Brian, when you watch Kansas State, they seem to start throwing the ball more here lately. How much more does that put on your plate, knowing they can do?
Yeah, well, I just think they're good no matter what they really try to do. They're effective at everything, and you know, I'm really impressed with the quarterback and really the running backs that they have. So, you know, you have to be able to defend them and not let them get in open spaces, because they're all really hard to tackle. But yeah, that is just an added element when you know, you can throw the ball too, and you know, the quarterback's really accurate. He's accurate in the pocket. He's accurate on the move. Receivers, you know, you don't hear quite as much about all those guys, but shoot, I watch film and they're open and they catch the ball and they run after catch. So yeah, it's kind of a dual threat thing, and you just can't, you know, they run the ball for a lot of yards, but yeah, their effectiveness in the pass game is also that number's going up as well. So it's a big challenge for sure.
And how do you prepare for their QB run game, although he didn't do it a lot these last 2 weeks?
Yeah, well, he still ends up running the ball a bunch, you know, because he scrambles around and does stuff. So whether it's by design or not, you know, you still got to stop him. You know, we'd be foolish not to defend some of the quarterback run plays that they've shown, because, you know, I think, he's a couple weeks ago he might have been a little bit banged up or whatever. obviously he's probably healed over time, and you know, maybe that's back into their thought process. So we're preparing for that as well, and whether he does it or not, I guess we'll see, but we should be ready for it if he does.
How important was it to get Cornell back against Houston? What type of role do you feel like he'll be able to play on Saturday?
Yeah, I think it was good to get him for the snaps he did. I think he had, you know, 20, 25 snaps, something like that. So I believe it's just good for our defense. It's good confidence for our defense to have him back out there. Just from that standpoint, you know, he played reasonably well. You know, obviously there's always a couple things here or there that you know, like anybody can do better. He's a little bit rusty at a couple things, but you know, he's got a lot more reps now this week in practice, and kind of getting back to the old Cornell. So I as much as anything, it's just maybe for me, but for I believe our defense, just knowing the guys out there, and he's back more or less. That I think that's very helpful.
Physically, has he responded pretty well all week?
Yeah, he like I said, he hasn't. You know, I can't say like limiting him. He's not really been limited in practice, so he's gotten the repetitions. He doesn't limp around. He just goes, and so I feel like he's obviously he's getting back to that stage where he's full go, you know, all the time. So we're getting to that point.
Taylor Davis and Caleb Purdy played quite a bit, you know, as younger guys. What did you see from them, and where do they?
Yeah, I think they're both they're both competitive players. You know, they're good athletes. You know, Taylor Davis is probably one of the best athletes we have just at the secondary back there. Just when you look at everything, he just didn't really have the experience doing it. So I think he's got a million reps over the last 2-3 weeks. So I think that only helps him. Caleb Taylor is probably one of Caleb Purdy is probably he's probably our smartest guys back there. So he knows it, and he can communicate it, and shoot, he corrects me once in a while back there. So, you know, I know he knows what's going on. And again, that's probably the first real experience that he's had in his career, and I thought he responded well to that. So, you know, if that's the nature of things going forward, then I feel good about those guys out there. I don't feel like we're taking huge steps backwards.
Brian, when you watch Kansas State's offensive line, what stands out?
Well, I just feel like they're the good sum of all the parts, and they work well together. You know, I think last year, you know, they probably very senior dominated line last year, and you know, everybody knows those guys were really good. You know, these guys don't have quite all that, you know, all that past experience, but you can tell they're well coached and they function well together, and you know, they know what's going on, and so they're, you know, I don't know that that's a weakness for them by any stretch, and you know, they're just a really good offense, and I think they call plays good, and you know, they set plays up, and they just do a really good job of stuff. And even if you feel like you're ahead of them, sometimes they just keep punching, and they just keep going, and they're a pretty strong team that they're able to come back on you. So because they have the scheme and the weapons to do it. So I think they're good all over.
Anything else for Coach?
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.